Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Critical Misses, the show where Moonpier and I are picking up on all the critical hits we missed. I'm your host, Boston. As I mentioned before, there's Moonpier.
Hi.
We are, this is episode 2, season 11, excuse me, get so choked up about the idea of time loops. I love them so much.
That's the reason why.
Yep. Yeah, we're in our second cycle of our time loop season here on episode 2. And we're moving on to Looper, the 2012's Looper?
12, yes. 12 is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
I can answer that question mark at the end of that sentence for you. 2012 is correct.
Appreciate it. Yeah, this is... so I have not seen this movie before. I believe you have?
Yes, and I, in fact, quite like this movie a lot.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I want to get this out of the way first and foremost. There's 2 movies this season which kind of... You can get away with putting them in this season, and you can get away with not putting them in this season.
Okay.
This is one of them. It is on point, as you could probably guess from the title of the movie, that it can go in this season. That's fine.
Sure, right.
It's not like the rest of the Looper movies we'll be watching, where it shows multiple loops over and over and over again, like the same day.
Right.
This is more what is a looper and the consequences of them.
Gotcha. So it's less of Happy Death Day, where we're repeating the same period over and over again, but more of when things go awry, what could happen. Right. So not really time travel, but kind of, and not really a loop movie, but kind of?
Exactly.
Okay. The Venn diagram in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the circle in the middle where it's just like, I don't know, dude. Whatever.
It's got time, and we're messing with it.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So you definitely haven't seen this.
Correct. I have always been interested in watching it, because I feel like the people that have watched it and liked it and recommended it have sort of share my same tastes and sort of said, like, I think you'd enjoy this movie. It's kind of a fun thing. And I think I typically like movies that maybe are fun but not maybe good. You know, I feel like that's part of my jam, is like, that was fun.
You like garbage.
Yeah, but like fun garbage. Like I'm having a good time with this garbage here. I feel like
you're looking for a baseball stadium hot dog, right? Here.
Yeah. Maybe not with the price, but yeah, the level of cuisine. To it.
Okay. A baseball stadium hot dog on dollar hot dog days.
Oh man, yeah. I'll get sick on hot dogs for sure. But I feel like it's the extension of what we talk about on TVGP with B games, where it's like, this thing's got a lot of heart and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's got a lot of problems too, but I had a blast with it, and you know, it's an imperfect sort of gem, and I feel it's, from the outside, I feel like that is Looper. The only thing I know about it is that it stars, unfortunately, Bruce Willis. We will see if it's good or bad Bruce Willis. I feel like the chances of Bruce Willis being good in a movie lately is approaching 0.
2012, dude. 2012. 9
yeah,
years ago.
So we got a higher chance, but not significant. I know Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in it, and I believe.
I was gonna ask if your two quote unquote favorite actors that you know about were in this, because I'm pretty sure you're not a big fan of JGL either.
No, I kind of like him. I think he usually does okay. I'm trying to think of the last thing I've seen him in. Yeah, Inception. 50/50 came out after Inception, maybe? I definitely saw that. I like him. I think he's okay. It's not one of those ones where it's like, ooh, JGL's in something. I gotta go. It's nothing like that.
Okay.
I believe they play the same character. If I can understand what I have gleaned through osmosis, I'm assuming there's some time business about, oh, you're me. No, I'm you. You're that sort of thing.
You are correct. This is
Okay.
Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, exactly.
Where
Right.
JGL and Bruce Willis play the same character, correct?
Gotcha.
That is Joe and Old Joe, respectively.
Okay.
Here's the twist. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Old Joe.
I was just about to wonder. I was like, I bet they're gonna flip the script here. Whoa. Yeah.
So one of my favorite actresses is in this movie, and she does not get talked about enough in this movie, I don't think.
Okay.
Which I didn't realize until thinking about this episode. She gets a 2 for this season. She's in 2 of our movies this season.
Let me guess. It's Emily Blunt.
It is Emily Blunt.
Nice. Love Emily Blunt. She's great. You're right. She does not get enough credit, and she's really good in everything.
Uh-huh. So she makes a 2-for-1 season this season.
It's a back-to-back, I believe. A double feature.
Let me check.
We gotta check the folder structure here.
Vamp a little bit here while I have a look.
Also,
yes, literally, it's the next episode is her 2 for.
Yeah, so we got a back-to-back double feature here
with Ms. Emily Blunt. There's a whole bunch of faces you will recognize in it.
Great.
I guarantee you won't know why you recognize a lot of them.
Okay.
A couple of those guys.
A couple of character actors popping up in here.
Yeah. However,
do
you know who directed this movie?
Ooh, I do not, actually.
Okay. Cool.
Would I have vetoed this if I knew?
No, you actually. Okay. I don't want to make the movie. I don't like using the beginning bit to hype up or hype down any movies, although there is one season that I will specifically be hyping down a movie for good reasons. We'll get there when we get there, 30 years from now.
Yes.
This was written and directed by Rian Johnson.
Ah, okay.
Of the Last Jedi fame.
Star Wars Episode 8.
Yes.
Right.
The divisive Rian Johnson, we'll say.
Right.
More than a little bit. The same Knives Out Rian Johnson, you know.
Yeah, I haven't. I still haven't seen Knives Out yet, but I'm fairly sure that would be my jam.
Yes. I haven't seen Knives Out either.
Okay.
Also, apparently, he directed 3 episodes of Breaking Bad, which I did not know. Which is good.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I like his stuff. I have seen both of those things. I don't believe I've seen anything else. I think he wrote a TV show quite a while ago, and I haven't seen that. I've heard it's good.
Well, I wouldn't even know, to be honest. I only really know him from being a director.
I do like The Last Jedi a lot. 2 thumbs up.
Me too. Cue the hate mail. It's the best Star Wars movie.
I don't know where my ranking would be. We can think more deeply about that in the inevitable future Star Wars season, because every podcast that talks about media eventually needs to circle around there. But it would be pretty.
I still haven't seen the last one.
Yeah. Star Wars : the last one.
Yes, the last one. Or Solo.
Yeah.
But it's definitely my favorite, so either way. Yeah. But yes, Rian Johnson. What else do we know? Anything else at all? When's it set? What's happening?
Nope.
What's the world situation?
Nope. I'm assuming there's going to be some time travel and looping business. I'm sure there's always a scene where they go to the past and they like trip over a cat or something, and then they go back to the future and it's World War X. So I'm unintended consequences. I'm assuming we'll have one of those standard scenes.
This is the Futurama line at the bottom. Never ever go to the year 2020, which is
That's
just
right.
weirdly prescient.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I don't. I think largely what I'm excited for is I like time travel and I like time looping stuff, and I'm curious to see. I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm always interested to see how he's going to do in a movie. I'm especially interested in seeing him sort of opposite Bruce Willis, to see how that balances out. Um, and it's more morbid curiosity from the Bruce Willis side of less of like Nick Cage, like which Nick Cage are we gonna get, and more like,
Yeah,
does Bruce Willis feel like acting in this movie or not?
I. The thing you've got to keep in mind as well is even in his movies where he's a big star, Bruce Willis comes to the set and is Bruce Willis.
Yeah, 100%. There's no character he's putting on.
Well, yeah, yeah. Whereas JGL is an actor,
Mm-hmm.
so it's one of those things where it's like you've got an actor who
Mm-hmm.
is trying to play a young version of a guy who just shows up to set and records.
Right, a dude whose coffee cup is going to be in a couple of shots like that. That's sort of Bruce Willis.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm more excitedly curious than anything else about Looper. Do you have any parting thoughts here?
Honestly, the three big movies on this that we're gonna do is this, Live, Die, Repeat, and Interstellar. I'll talk about Interstellar when we get there, but I genuinely adore all three of the movies for completely different reasons.
Mhm.
And this is the one that it's like, it's good, it's great in some moments, and also it's terrible in some bits
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what you will feel like coming out of this because
Mm-hmm.
this is a pleasure of mine. I don't even know if I'd go so far as it's a guilty pleasure. It's definitely a movie that I enjoy sitting down and watching.
Right. But it's one of those you can't recommend to everybody. But if it's like if it's their sort of jam, you're like, hey man, you should go check out Looper. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
also one of those movies that where it's a thinker, but it's not a deep thinker. If that
Sure.
makes sense.
Right, right. It's got enough of think in there to just be like, yeah, what if time? And you're like, yeah, all right.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, guns.
But at the same time, don't also think about the ebbs and flow of time as a spatial anomaly and
For sure.
what the whole butterfly effect thing comes into serious questions in this
Okay.
movie.
This isn't the fountain, to put it lightly.
Oh, jeez. Why did
That's a
that?
Looper movie we should have put in this season.
No, it's not, dude. I don't have 12 hours,
Oh, I
or at
like.
least what feels like 12 hours.
You want to talk about a movie that I like that most people don't, and I can't recommend? The Fountain.
It's a great movie, and it's got two
Uh-huh.
incredible people in it, but it's also bonkers.
And it's like a 2.5 hour slow motion car crash. We're like, there's only one way this is gonna go. Okay, let's keep
Uh-huh.
doing this. Okay. Well, on that note, let's not go watch The Fountain. Let's go watch Looper.
Yes, of course, The Fountain was directed by Aronofsky. Of course, it was.
Yeah, it's my jam.
Uh,
All right, see you soon.
Bye.
We are back yet again. Time travel joke. We watched Looper, 2012's Looper, and we're back here to chat about it. We've traveled 30 years back to the past to bring you part 2 of this episode. I can we just talk about the elephant in the room?
Is it Bruce Willis?
No, no, shockingly not. Bruce Willis was okay in this, actually. All right. Let's talk about Bruce Willis first. He was all right in this. I expected him to be in this movie for the majority of the time and not talk, and he largely did that when he was on screen. But that scene between the two of them in the diner was actually pretty good.
I don't want to talk about it because otherwise we're just going to end up with a chalkboard and a bunch of red tape. Is a pretty good.
Yeah, there's a real good, like, him just, like, slamming his fist on the table saying, like, I don't want to talk about time travel crap. It's just like, yeah, man, all right. Are you going to shoot each other now? Like, yeah. No, elephant in the room. JGL's mouth.
Okay, so we're talking prosthetics.
Yeah,
Okay.
I originally thought it was CG, because I thought it was one of those, look, when we, like, de-age or we do whatever stuff, normally it looks fine-ish, except for the mouth. The mouth is, like, the hardest part to do. Look at Tron Legacy, an incredible movie that just has a real weird face.
Look at any of the Marvel movies with the de-aging. I mean, come on.
100%. Just real weird.
Like, they got Fury right, and they got Coulson right in
Sure, yeah.
in Captain Marvel. But before that, Hank Pym sure looks like a hot mess. Tony Stark in Iron Man 3 looks like a hot mess. Like,
yeah, and I it took me a while to realize, like, obviously Gordon-Levitt looks different in this movie, and my first note in my document here is, why does JGL's mouth look so weird? And it was just so distracting throughout the entire thing. There's, like, one super short scene during the transition between him and Bruce Willis, like when they fast forward essentially through, like, the two,
and they thin out his hair so it looks more like Bruce Willis's hair.
And there's one scene that I swear it was just Gordon-Levitt without the prosthetics on. I was like, yeah, there he's gone. It's Bruce Willis. Okay. And, like, I will come forward here. Not only am I really bad with names, I have, like, a little bit of face blindness. So, like, the idea that they put a bunch of prosthetics on Gordon-Levitt's face to make him look like a younger Bruce Willis, that it doesn't read like that in the movie. It's just like,
honestly, the first few times I saw this, I didn't even notice.
I had to look it up because I'm just like, what's wrong with this dude's face? Like, he's an attractive dude. Like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we wanted him to look like a young Bruce Willis. And I was like, man, I don't know if people care. Like,
I sure as hell didn't.
Like, you could put Joseph Gordon-Levitt and be like, yeah, he's a young Bruce Willis. And I'm like, yeah, cool, acting, fine, that's great.
In a way, the elephant in the room was Bruce Willis, specifically Bruce Willis's chin.
That's true. Yeah, apparently. Yeah, from a production standpoint, I think it's interesting because they're saying, like, well, if you look at between the two of them, one has bigger ears, one has smaller ears. They have different eyebrows, they have different noses and mouths. Like, it's such a different face that it took us a lot of tries to get a prosthetic setup that makes this dude look like a younger Bruce Willis. And I was like, all right.
Answer, don't do that.
Yeah, like, I also like that they hired Joseph Gordon-Levitt and they're like, all right, put the stuff on your face. It's like, that's all right. He's like a handsome enough dude to begin with, and, like, he's a great actor. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's one of those movie things where you just wave your hand and be like, yeah, sure, all right, he's a younger version, that's fine, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't need the prosthetics. It's fine that they did them. It doesn't actually affect my viewing of this movie at all, to be honest.
It's just one of those, like, I'm squinting sometimes and being like, what happened to his face, and whatever. Anyways, yeah.
So part of the trivia for this movie, other than the prosthetics, is also the fact that JGL went back and watched all of Bruce Willis's movies when he was younger.
Oh, okay.
And so he could have and start using Bruce Willis's mannerisms in his acting.
Okay.
And Bruce Willis noticed. He was like, wait, that's something I do.
Oh, no.
So
that's got to be real weird, man.
This is what you get when you get a boat actor in Bruce Willis, who's always looking for another boat, and an actor in JGL.
Right. Oh, man.
Let's get to the world.
Yeah, let's get to Looper here. This is one of the coolest premises for a movie I have seen in a really long time. In 2074, the mob in Kansas City cannot dispose of bodies anymore because everything is like tracked and monitored and all that. So they just send them back in time,
which is illegal.
30 years to have a team of kids kill them in 2044.
And then dispose of the bodies, which technically don't exist.
Right. So if you have not watched this movie and you have gotten to so far this part, and that sounds cool, go watch Looper. Looper is cool as hell.
And I love the fact that they get paid in silver. It's so biblical. Yep.
And then once their loop is closed, they get paid in gold, so they shoot themselves and then see the gold on the back, and they're like, well, my time has come. She's like, yeah, man, that's cool.
My loop has closed.
Hey,
let's get the nomenclature down.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really cool words like that. They use a blunderbuss, which is just always a fantastic word. They're closing loops.
It's a great gun as well. I love the design of that gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like a future thing, but kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same as all the cars. All the cars are just our cars with solar panels and little wires sticking into them.
Yeah, I love that stuff, man. I eat that stuff up where it's it's like an old Honda Civic, except it has panels on it and zip-tied wires. It's yes. Yes, please. This is great. Yeah, I liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this a whole lot. I was genuinely surprised it took almost half of the movie to see Emily Blunt. Because I kept being like, man, she's not one of these people. No, she hasn't. She's. I know what she looks like. She hasn't popped up yet. I do like that. What's his name? Paul Dano is in this. I haven't seen him in something in a while as Seth. He's real great as the dude who screws the whole thing up.
He's the tutorial mission.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. Just hey man, I was gonna close my loop and the dude was singing and whoops, something happened. Made a mistake.
So yeah, we get introduced to Joe and the loopers and closing the loops and the newfangled drugs that they do, which is just eye drops.
Yeah, the real Cowboy Bebop eye drop drugs.
Which is kind of cool, if I'm honest. Not the doing of drugs, but the concept of them.
Right.
Did you immediately catch Piper? Because I missed Piper. Every single time I've seen this movie, I completely missed Piper from Piper Perabo from...
Yeah, Piper Parabo's been in a lot of stuff. I caught her in...
Coyote Ugly.
Oh, right, she was in that, yeah. My kid loves the Steve Martin Cheaper by the Dozen movie, where Piper Perabo is the oldest kid, so I'm always like, yeah, from Cheaper by the Dozen. Everyone's like, no. What are you talking about?
Everybody says from Coyote Ugly, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought she was really great. Jeff Daniels just doing a great job always. Yeah, I my favorite quote of his that I wrote down is, "I'm from the future, you should go to China." It's just yeah.
You should learn Chinese, I think it is the best one.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, how's your Mandarin coming along? He's like, oh, I'm going to France. He's like, yeah, you should go to China.
Which, fun fact, by the way, this is another trivia moment for that. The movie was supposed to go to Paris at the end. It's supposed to flash forward and he's in Paris, but they ran out of budget to go and film in Paris. So China footed some of the bill for this and was like, just come film that last bit in China. So that's where the starting to learn French and then changing it around comes into it, because they adapted it on the fly. And that is a chef's kiss of a line to leave that whole thing away.
Oh, man. Yeah, I actually really liked the guy who played Kid Blue too. I feel I almost recognize him, but when I looked him up, I didn't remember anything I'd really seen him in. I'll look it up here while we're talking. But
he's the wannabe Gap Man. Well, he is a
Yep.
Gap Man, I guess, but he's the disappointing son wannabe Gap Man.
Yeah, he's the dude who's not using a blunderbuss, and then you find out
Uh-huh.
he keeps shooting. He literally keeps shooting himself in the foot, which
Yep.
is this great inside joke where it's real good. Um,
Uh-huh. So Seth, we need to talk about Seth really quick
right.
because he immediately introduces us to the mechanics of time travel in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
where his loop escapes and like he gets the whole needing to be tracked. Like it's honestly, it sets up the rest of the film really well
Mm-hmm.
because it sets up what the consequences are of letting your loop run
Yes.
and what happens when that happens.
Yeah, like it was an interesting moment where they're like, "Are you gonna kill him?" And he's like, "No, we kind of can't do that, but we're gonna make it difficult in a different way." And that scene, where you first see the arrow on his wrist pointing in
Uh-huh.
under his shirt, I was just like, "What is happening?" And the like 2 or 3 minutes of this dude falling apart in the street is horrifying. Like
Uh-huh.
it's such a good scene in such a horrible way.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
mm, it's a masterclass, I think, of again, it's the thing we can let movies do a lot of the time. We don't need an explanation. We don't need a chalkboard with lines and diagrams. You
Just
show
just show
the
this dude's nose is missing now. Like his fingers are
it,
disappearing one by one.
mm,
Like what do you think is happening?
uh-huh. It's
Yep.
kind of gross.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. But like you said, like they're showing it. They don't need to explain any of it. You're going to pick it up pretty quick. Um
Uh-huh.
yeah,
But yeah, like we
okay.
get that, and then it's business as normal. Like, and I forgot we have already been introduced to the Rainmaker at this point.
Yes, the one who's closing all the loops in the future.
Uh-huh. As looper after looper after looper after looper gets all of their stuff closed down.
Yep.
And then Joe's loop appears.
Yeah, without
So,
he does like the Solid Snake Metal Gear Solid 3 3-point like
mhm.
introduction, and then just chucks a gold bar at young Joe and just pieces out.
And I love the fact that like he knocks him out, he leaves a note telling him to run,
Yep.
and then it flashes back to the start of that same loop, essentially, the start of that same interaction.
Yep. Yeah.
Except then we get the this is what happened the first time kind of
Yes.
things, and we get the whole fast forward sequence. It's real good.
And I think the thing that's really impressive for me is there's a lot happening here. You're sort of talking about two timelines at once,
Uh-huh.
but you're kind of not really. And the movie shows you how the rest of Joe's life is going to play out. As his funds dwindle, as he continues to get addicted, as he meets his wife, as he sort of gets clean, and his time to return to 2044 comes up. And then you have the alternate timeline where the rest of the movie plays out, where young Joe goes to Emily Blunt's farm. Um, it's really smart how they do it, where they handle how the whole loop plays out, and then they don't really ever address it again. They just
No,
do the divergence.
yeah. The only time you ever see it or feel it addressed at all is literally anytime old Joe is talking about his what's going on with him, like how
Yeah.
his memories are foggy and how like his memories change depending on what young Joe does.
Mm-hmm.
And like he talks about like because he's got a picture of his wife in his watch, and
Mm-hmm.
he talks about like every time something changes, he has a quick look and he tries to remember the first time that he saw his wife's face.
Right.
And it's this really smart way of like putting it together where it's like, yeah, some memories get more solid, some memories get more foggy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like because this is the conversation in the diner,
Yep.
which I adore that entire sequence. It's
It's
so good.
surprisingly outstanding. And especially with the introduction where, young Joe has
The arrow.
carved, yeah, the arrow and the waitress's name on his arm. And then the first thing that old Joe says is like, you could have written, I think Joy is the other woman's name. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
that's less letters. And young Joe's just like,
Yeah.
curses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole sequence is so good, and especially young Joe basically saying to old Joe, "Yeah, like, show me what's in that watch. Show me that photo, and the second I see her face, I will turn and walk away."
Right.
Because that's how much disdain the old and the young version of each other's have. It's
Right.
it's this really good thing, and of course, the whole one of the I think the only other flash forward you get is old Joe getting the numbers.
Yeah, because this is where we're introduced to that string of numbers that he has. He's like a freedom fighter has yelled a string of numbers that will lead them to who the Rainmaker is. Because over the movie, they kind of start peppering in stuff like the Rainmaker has taken over all of the gangs.
And he did it
Essentially,
by himself.
yeah, like essentially did it by himself. No one knows who he is or what he is or how he's done that, but he is just the crime kingpin of what appears to be the world, and it just sort of happened.
And we also have at this point been introduced to TKs, which I
Yeah,
love. I love how it's a throwaway line at the start of the movie when they're driving to the club for the first time and Seth is doing the floating pennies
yeah,
thing.
he's just practicing it to impress some ladies.
Uh-huh. I
Hmm.
love the fact that that comes back up later, which we'll get
Yes.
into it in a
Yep.
little bit. But I love the fact that that's picked up, thrown away, and it's never made a deal of. Like it's
Hmm.
referenced every here and there. Like you get the advertisement slogans where it's like, "Are you TK?"
Yeah,
And
get
like there's literally
TK tested and stuff like that. Like, how strong are you? Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah,
good like in-universe ads and stuff like that peppered around.
yeah. I think he refers to them as just a bunch of a-holes floating quarters, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
It's
good.
so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dining hall scene, like the diner scene, is just it's so good because it's like a good 10-15 minute scene, it feels like, and
Hmm.
not a wasted moment the entire time.
Even with old Joe speaking French to young Joe and young Joe not yet knowing it. Um,
How's the
that
French going? Oh,
right.
never mind, you'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
Clearly is one of the best lines.
That's really good. Oh man. Yeah, and
Oh,
like we talked about at the beginning, I like that they don't care about the mechanics of the time machine. We barely see it later, which I think is incredible. Um,
mhm.
they don't really care about explaining it. They don't care about like, well, the multiverse theory. It's just like, shut up. It doesn't matter. Stop talking. Stop talking about time. We got other stuff.
Mhm.
And I really really like that because it just doesn't matter, man. Like these two guys are the same guy. You get it.
Yep. That's pretty much all you need to know. And they're
Yeah.
after different things. One wants to survive and one wants to essentially kill the Rainmaker.
Right.
Which I love how he's put up as this boogeyman. Like
Yep.
everyone talks about him as this boogeyman. And then yeah, we find out about the numbers,
Yep.
specifically the numbers because they get into a fight at the diner, which I love that by the way. It takes Bruce Willis, old Joe. We know Bruce Willis is old. It
Yeah.
takes old Joe slamming his hand down on that table for them to look up and realize that they are all alone and have been for some time, it looks like.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So clearly something's about to get to happen.
Yeah.
And like they get into the whole fight with the Gap Men, which I love that name for them, the Gap Men as well. It's a
Mm-hmm.
nice little reference to the gang and how like Kid, whatever his name is like he's the one who tracked them because he's traced to the stupid motorbike that was
And
introduced
I
at the
like
beginning.
that crappy hover bike from I think Seth owned it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kid Blue, that's his name. Um, like that whole sequence is great, and then they go chasing after Bruce Willis into like, and he just ducks into the cornfield. And I love that they don't bring attention to the fact that they're working with young Joe until young Joe stops, and they all look at each other, and then young Joe just books it because he's realized that he's literally standing next to people who would destroy him if they could.
Yeah, they are chasing him as well as old Joe. Like they all put it together. Yeah, and Kid Blue is trying to sort of redeem himself at this point because the Joes have sort of eluded him for I think the first time at this point.
Yes, the safe. Well, yeah, the safe incident in the house.
Yep.
Was number one. Then this is number two.
Right.
Which it's really good, and yeah. So
in the scuffle, young Joe steals a portion of the map that contains an address and the numbers, and old Joe has the rest of it. And we quickly learn that old Joe's plan is to kill a bunch of kids before they turn into the Rainmaker. Which,
and
sure, I get it.
There's no hesitation. He literally does it. He goes and kills 2 kids.
And I think that's the thing that for me really sells like how terrible the Rainmaker is in the future. Is like Bruce Willis is more than happy to storm into someone's backyard and shoot a kid. He's still upset about it, but like obviously he needs to do it because stuff is bad in 2074. Yeah. And I like that we finally get introduced to Emily Blunt. She's living with her son Sid on a farm surrounded by sugarcane. And young Joe is trying to not trying to get clean, he just doesn't have his eye drop drugs with him.
Doesn't have access to drugs, yes.
Yeah, so he's sort of sleeping it off in a field, which is not going super well. And man, like always, Emily Blunt is real good in this. Just
Can we
real
talk about the fake badassery that turns into real sympathetic person that turns into real badassery.
Yeah, I've killed X number of vagrants this year. I'll put you in the ground too. It's just like, oh, gee, Emily Blunt, please. You got a rough life.
Yup.
Yeah.
Which might be an understatement, but yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, she actually helps Joe get clean / recover from being clean. I like the fact that like she handcuffs him to like a camping bed in the barn with a hose in his hand.
Yep. It's real good. And I feel like if this movie was written differently, Sarah is Emily Blunt's character's name. She would see the numbers, and we wouldn't get an answer for that for like half an hour. But she's like, "Oh, what are those numbers?" Like she clearly recognizes what they are, and
I love how her reaction changes as soon as she sees the numbers. Like as soon as she sees them, she goes straight from "I'm gonna pretend to threaten to shoot you" to no, she just shoots him straight in the chest.
Yep. Be like, I don't know why you have those numbers. I'm gonna. And I didn't put it together why this would be so important that she would want to defend against someone who has the numbers, but it makes sense later. But the numbers are like one thing that I think is probably like the weakest part of this movie. She's like, oh yeah, it was the date he was born and like his hospital code. I was like, okay, sure. But and you find out like 3 kids were born on that same day at that same hospital, so that's why old Joe is just going around getting. I don't think he ever kills the second kid, but he definitely kills that first kid.
He?
I don't know, because when he goes and he breaks into Piper Parabo's apartment.
Oh yes, he gets caught by Kid Blue.
Yes, and Sid is like doing his thing elsewhere.
And because that's what happens. He gets caught by Kid Blue, and that's when I think that's when Sid. It's not when is it when he falls? I don't think it's when he falls.
Yeah, it is. It's in
Uh,
the living room. So what we find out in the intervening time is that Sarah is Sid's mom, but because she was dealing with a whole bunch of stuff in her life, she gave Sid to her sister for a while, who Sid thinks is his mom. So he thinks that
mhm.
Sarah is lying about being his mom. And as a result, he keeps acting out and kind of lashing out towards Sarah about,
My favorite is that you don't get that reveal for a long time.
right,
Like,
because like she when they have a big fight, he's doing like multiplication tables on a thing, and he gets it wrong, and he keeps calling her a liar, and she runs
mhm.
out of the room and goes and sits in a safe, and I was sort of like, that seems more.
Parenting 101, dude. Is that not how you deal with your child?
I got nowhere to go. I don't have. Maybe I should buy a safe. Um, but like, it's one of those things where it's like that seems like an outsized reaction to a kid having a temper tantrum. But then later you find out, no, it's not really. um,
Yeah, because the Jesse sequence happens, which well played by the guy who played Jesse as well, by the way. Like, that's a real cool sequence. Like,
yeah,
him coming in, being slightly overly aggressive towards
hmm,
everything, but still in a nice way, but definitely in a gangster kind of way.
like friendly, slimy.
Yes, that's really that. Yes, he is
Yeah,
Slimer from the Ghostbusters animated TV show.
right.
Um,
Um,
but
yeah,
yeah,
and
like that whole sequence is great, and then like I like that Joe immediately de-escalates that situation as well, where he's like, okay, so this is Jesse. I know Jesse. He's a good man,
hmm,
and he's also a great shot.
right.
So he's gonna let you go, and you're gonna walk to the couch and sit down and not do anything.
Yeah, and I like that Sarah's like, okay, like
Hmm.
I know you're not BSing me here.
Yeah, and yeah, that whole sequence goes down. I love the way that that all happens. Yeah, then we get the fall.
Yeah, because we had learned very briefly in an earlier sequence that Sarah is a TK as well that has in some quantity like an above average ability for telekinesis.
Yeah, because she's doing the coin trick with it, but she's actually
Yep.
like levitating them above her fingers and rolling it from finger to finger and
Yeah, and
back and
she's
around
like
and back.
she's hovering a lighter too, and she's,
Mhm.
she's got some good skills. Um,
I like the fact that she also references people used to do that to her in bars and try and float a quarter to impress her, and then she'd just keep their quarters down.
yeah,
It's such a,
real
it's
good.
such a troll move, but it's so good.
Yeah, we have this really great scene of Jesse coming down and taking Sarah at gunpoint, and then Sid falls, and then it's a really great moment, and it doesn't take super long, but Sarah doesn't grab Sid, she
Yeah,
grabs
You
Joe
see
and
Joe,
runs
you
out of
see
the
Joe
house.
go for Sid, and
Right.
then you see Sarah go for Joe, and literally like as he's about to catch Sid, she tackles him
It just pulls him out
out
of
the
the
front
house.
door,
Yep.
and
And
it's like,
Sid like explodes Jesse.
uh-huh.
Oh my god, like the shot of all of that stuff floating and Jesse like all of the blood coming out like very slowly coming out of his body is just like, yep, it's gonna happen. This thing's gonna it's gonna do it. Um,
Uh-huh. And credit where it's due for like the kid who plays Sid is genuinely cool, genuinely
yep.
like cute, and then super creepy at the same time.
Real terrifying when he like he looks up when he's before he's gonna do the telekinesis stuff, and you immediately know like, yeah, that's gonna go down. I don't know what's gonna go down, but yeah, this is gonna happen. Um,
Even him doing like his math homework when he's in that whole scene,
hmm,
and he's like he's deliberately choosing the wrong answers. He's got that face on him where it's just a little bit creepy.
hmm,
And the whole the fire truck scene is amazing as well when
yep.
he's rigging up the toys with the frogs that squeak squeak squeak.
I love that the noise of the frogs that are like the walkie-talkie frogs. Yep, it's really good.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and then we kind of get the sort of extended end sequence here where Kid Blue captures Joe and takes him to Abe, and then old Joe just destroys everybody in that entire place with really no problem at all. It's a really good action sequence.
Yeah,
The only
because Kid
person,
Blue's running his mouth again, isn't he? And
yeah,
he's literally just running his mouth again, and then Joe's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna deal with this,"
yeah,
and he does. It's so good, and the whole P90 sequence, the two P90s, that's
mm-hmm,
classic Bruce Willis as well, kind of like
yeah.
running down the hall with the two P90s. Yeah.
Yeah, he kills everybody except for Kid Blue, which I feel like maybe he doesn't realize he didn't kill him. Old Joe and Young Joe are at the farm to deal with Sarah and Sid, sort of their own respective ways. Um, Sid gets shot, like his face gets grazed by a bullet. Sarah calms him down, and then it's an interesting scene where Sid runs into the field, the sugarcane field, and Sarah blocks him. And at that point, young Joe figures out that Sid is going to turn into the Rainmaker if old Joe kills Sarah. Is then he's sort
Uh-huh.
of turned loose and um, sort of
I
left
think
to float.
I don't even think it's confirmed if he does or he doesn't become the Rainmaker if Sarah lives or dies. I
Mm.
think he sees the potential for him to not become the
Yeah,
Rainmaker.
that's the best point. Like I think Sid and Sarah's relationship seems to be improving because young Joe is sort of positively influencing Sid. So I think he's seeing like if they could continue to mend their relationship, and Sid continues to kind of work on his latent powers, then maybe nothing bad will happen. I think you're right. Like the potentiality there is the real key point. Um,
Mhm.
so young Joe shoots himself
Yep.
in one of these, like, that's the
It's
only move you have sort of sequences. Like you got to
uh-huh.
erase the problem, which is old Joe. You have to sort of pull the weed out at the root, which is young Joe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's a real good thing because I like the shots of like Sid's life without the mother. Like I like that real quick, like 10-second flash forward scene of him
Hmm.
hopping on a train
Yeah,
and
he's
like
like
him.
blood splattered and angry in a train.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And then yeah, he just I like the flip out, like the way he pulls up the blunderbuss and flips it towards himself is such
Yep.
a really good little move.
Yep.
We didn't talk about how he dealt with Kid Blue, by the way, which was to blunderbuss the hell out of the road while Kid
Yeah, he
Blue's
like
like
shoots
the
up the road to kick
supercharge.
up a bunch of dust, and then just
Uh-huh.
I like that shot of the hover bike coming out of the dust cloud by itself.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot. I like when movies like this are more than happy to just not show you the sequence. It's just like, yeah, you know what happens. Don't worry about it. I mean, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
largely a budget thing, but like, it looks cool. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that flip around and then the blunderbuss to his own chest is just it's a great moment. And then of course, like Sarah and Sid end up going towards the other vehicle that's there, which happens to be the vehicle that's loaded with Joe's silver.
Yeah, because Joe like drove up in this really crummy, like tiny version of a panel van, and
It looks like a USPS truck.
100%, it's just it's a real crap heap. And thankfully you find out that she'll be taking care of all the silver and gold. Um, and then I like that the movie just ends. It's just like
Hmm.
I got no more to tell you. Bye. Like,
Yep.
see ya.
Good luck figuring it out.
Yeah.
Which, if you do go back and watch this again, which from it sounds like you enjoyed it, so it sounds like you may
Yeah,
actually watch this again at some
it'll be
point.
one of those that I probably watch like once a year, where it's like I haven't watched this in. I'll watch Looper. I got 2 hours.
The fun fact in Sid's room all of his toys and stuff
Mm.
wear the same outfits as his gang does in the future.
Oh wow. Okay.
So like
Interesting.
his childhood toys are like, I think it's like Bad Bob is the character, and
Mm.
all of the figures wear the same big black Vibram hats and black
Yeah.
dusters.
Those almost like
Um,
missionary looking hats. That's interesting.
mhm.
Wow.
And the first time we are introduced to Sarah, she's smacking the back end of that machine and the
Yep.
crop duster, which makes rain.
Yeah, I really like these like the little technology things in the future where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go like water the crops. And like after I
Mhm.
was done watching the movie, I was like, all right, that was a cool little piece of business.
A
Um,
little nod to the Rainmaker.
yeah. Yeah, I like
So
Looper a lot.
we got good Bruce Willis. That's the good news.
Yeah, like we got good Bruce Willis. I think JGL does a really good job. You know, I've already aired my grievances of the prosthetics. It's
Oh,
it's
to the chin.
it's really the lips that's really the problem. But I mean, that's the hard stuff to do. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think it's I don't think it's bad prosthetics. To be clear, I think they did a
Yeah.
really good job. It's just I know what that dude's face looks like, but you can really only see his eyes at that point, and so it's a little bit weird. Um, but yeah, I Looper is the kind of fun, smart enough time travel science fiction movie that I like, where it's not all the way up its butt about like telling us all of the rules about its universe, and you could
Is
tell
it
the writers
linear?
slapping
Is
the
it
lore book.
circular?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's nothing like Bruce Willis says like I don't want to talk about time travel. Like the movie
Hmm.
it is a vehicle for the strife in the movie. It isn't the point. Um
Yep.
you know, where something like Inception that's sort of the point. But in this movie it's just like no man, like don't worry about it. You just the mob 30 years gold and silver. It's good. Um and it is just a good fun movie that I had a hell of a time watching, and I would more than happily watch again.
Hmm.
Easily.
It's really good. Like, this is one of those movies that, like, when it came out, honestly, people, this is one of those divisive movies.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if it's just Ryan Johnson. I don't know if it's just the effect he has on people is
Right.
to just, he makes movies that you either love or hate.
Mhm.
But I've seen two of his movies, I think only two, and I loved both of them,
Mhm.
which is this and The Last Jedi. Um, he's so like, again, it's one of those things where like an issue a lot of people have with The Last Jedi is they say don't show. Well, that might not just be
Right.
Ryan Johnson. That could also be a lot of studio interference because this movie is a prime example of show, don't tell.
Mhm.
Because it introduces you to the world, it shows everything you need. There's very little actual explanation that needs to be done,
Yeah,
and
it doesn't matter.
it's amazing. Like it, believing in your audience to be smart enough to understand it without literally taking them through it step by step.
Mhm. And like trusting them to take the ride with you. Like
Hmm.
you've made this story, it all comes together. Let them take the ride. It's 2 hours.
Yeah, and I this is one I always forget about this movie, but then if you pushed me, I might end up putting this on like my top 20 movies to watch. Like
Mhm.
just in a case of yeah, it's dumb and it's hokey, but it's dumb and it's hokey in the ways that I adore dumb and hokey things.
And it's got a lot of heart. You know, like
Yeah.
this is a story that you can tell everyone kind of believes in, and they kind of enjoy the movie they're making, and you know they made a hell of a movie.
I would recommend next time you do decide to watch it,
Mhm.
just watch JGL and see if you can see the Bruce Willisisms, because that's what I
Yeah.
watched it for this time. Like when I this time I
Mhm.
just watched him
All the
in
little
and his
stuff.
mannerisms to try and see if I could notice him acting like Bruce Willis. And there's
Mhm.
certain movements, certain motions, certain ways he says things, which is just like, yeah, that's a diehard, like,
Yeah.
that's a diehard cadence right there. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
all they should have put in the "how can the same crap happen to the same guy twice" joke. I'm not gonna lie, like
Yeah,
that.
right. It's sitting right there.
That would have been fantastic,
Yeah.
but they didn't. It's fine, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, but yeah,
man.
I loved it. Loop is great.
Yeah,
Genuinely fantastic.
I sort of don't have anything else to say because it's just a good movie. Like it's not going to set the world on fire. It reminds me a lot of Upgrade that we watched previously on the show, where it's like you got a small budget, you got a team that really kind of believes in this thing, you got a universe, and you're just gonna show it, and you're gonna let people like it or not.
Yeah,
And I think it's cool. I think it's great.
so
Happy to see it again.
I unabashedly love Loop, and I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, yeah, I did. All right, well, that's our second movie here in our time loop season. We got 3 left, so we hope we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.